I prayed for a dog for 11 years. Well, maybe not exactly 11 years because I didn't realize I wanted one until I was probably about 3 or 4. My parents never wanted a dog, but they had 2 dogs, Dusty and Hoopy. I think Hoopy died before I was born and Dusty died shortly after I was born. And they just never wanted a dog after that. That kind of just ruined my chances. And to kind of push me off to the side and to get me to shut up, my mother and father would tell me, pray for a dog, pray to God for a dog, and if he wants you to have one, he'll bring one to you. But telling this to a little itty bitty kid who just wants a dog more than anything, and I believed it, and I prayed every night for a dog. Every day, every moment that I thought of one, every time I saw a dog, I was like, please God, bring me a dog. Over time, I owned a cat. I owned tons of goldfish, some guppies, you know, all types of different breeds of fish. I believe maybe some hamsters in the mix, a gerbil. And when I was 11 years old, I was about in the 6th grade, my neighbors had a dog that I took care of all the time when they went on vacation and everything. And their dog brought a dog home. I don't know where she picked her up. I don't know anything about it. I just know that my neighbor came to our door and said, this dog came home with my dog, because their dog was kind of free roaming all the time, and they asked if we wanted her, and my parents were like, nope, and I just was like, please, 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 and they just kept saying no. So this dog stuck around for a while, and my neighbor even said, heck, if you don't want it, think about it, but if you don't want it, we'll keep it. I wanted this dog so freaking bad, you don't even know. And my parents were like, okay, don't feed it, don't pay any attention to it, and it won't come here anymore. So obviously, I woke up really early that next morning, really early, before anyone, and I went in the fridge and I got a bag of my dad's lunch meat. And I sat out on the front porch and fed that dog chipped ham all morning. And I kept doing that every morning, and eventually, I don't know how it happened, but my parents were convinced to keep her. She scared the living crap out of me though. She was a puppy. She was about 6 months old. She was very excited. She was just hyper, incredibly hyper. And I had a tennis ball that I was playing with, and she legit looked like kind of like a coyote wolf thing, and her eyes just like dug into my soul, and I was so scared, but I wanted her so badly. And I was playing with this tennis ball and I was scared she was gonna like attack me or jump on me, and she's just like looking at me like with these big blue eyes, and I freaked out and I threw the ball, and we started playing, and my mom was like, what are you gonna call her? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, well, maybe you should call her something with her, she has pretty blue eyes. And I was just like, And then we kind of went through the Crayola box, and we're like, oh, sky blue, and robin egg blue. We were kind of just doing that thing, and I was just like, crystal blue. And she looked at us and we said it, and my mom's like, oh, maybe that's her name. So we called her Crystal. Before we officially dubbed her as ours, we took a picture of her and put up some signs saying, found dog. No one claimed her. We called around. They called it around. I didn't put any effort into this because I wanted to keep this dog. So no one claimed her. Thus we claimed her as ours. She had come without a collar, but she had a collar mark. So we weren't sure if she was dropped off or what happened there, but we did find out later on that she was just a very, very crazy dog. So we came to the conclusion that someone had dropped her off because they couldn't handle her. She came trained. She came potty trained, which was amazing. She knew sit, lay down, and spin. Spin was the cutest thing ever. I had never seen it, other than like dog shows and stuff like that. But if you held something up in the air, like a tree, obviously, you spin it and say spin. She would spin, and it was adorable, and I wish I had a video of it to show you guys. And that was so cute, and that was kind of the go-to trick that I had her do all the time. We weren't sure where we were going to keep her, so she was going to be an outside dog. She did, I don't remember why, but we kept her inside. I think it was after she got her surgery for being spayed. We kept her in the kitchen, and because that was our only hardwood flooring at the time. We didn't want her on the carpet. At that time, she had completely chewed the bottom of our kitchen chair. My parents were absolutely furious. She ate our screen door, ate the thing. She was laying on our back porch and she just chowed down on it. Didn't know screen doors tasted good. So we had to completely replace that. And they were like, let's get rid of her. I'm like, no, no, no. As we grew to know her within the first few weeks, we realized that she did have one issue. This was the biggest issue ever. To this day, people have regrets, and they're like, oh, if I could go back, I would let her do this or do this and do this and this. One thing I don't care, I hated about this dog was that she could not keep her tongue in her mouth. I promise you, it was the weirdest thing. I know dogs like to lick, they give you kisses on the face and stuff like that. I never liked that, but I mean, it's understandable for a dog to lick their owner or a cat or something. This dog licked everything. Everything. She, from the day we got her to the day we lost her, she was licking everything. She'd lick the couch. She'd lick my pants. She would just non-stop lick. She grew out of her extreme licking into moderate licking, but it never stopped. She would lick her bed, she would lick her toys, she would freaking lick the walls. She licked everything, guys. You don't even understand. If I had proof, she just licked everything. That drove me nuts. I hated it. I was like, dude, I just cleaned this sheet, or I just put on these pants, and now there's just dog slobber everywhere. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was so funny. That is one memorable thing that I hated about that dog. I still love the dog. Another problem, she ran away a lot. She had a problem with listening. We tried to train her. She was untrainable. No. If you're like, I'm the best dog trainer, no, you couldn't train this dog to stay in the yard. You could not. She would just, if you unhooked her chain, she would go. And you know, she'd come back, or we would get a phone call from someone a few miles away saying, hey, we got your dog. And we'd be like, oh, thanks, we'll come get her. And it was just, it was ridiculous. So then we tried to train her after we tried training her with treats, with people's tips, with all this stuff. We got a shock collar. That didn't even work. Everyone's like, try an invisible fence, which we didn't want to because they're pretty expensive. And if it didn't work and we put all that effort into like burying the wire and all this crap, and it didn't work, then we were screwed, and that was a waste of time. So we never tried that. So we kind of just dealt with it. I mean, all 4 of the family members had to be outside watching her when we let her go. She just had to be watched. And when she, her ears went up in the air and she started staring off in the distance, you knew you weren't getting that girl back. So we'd run after her, we'd go after her in the car, it was insane. And she never grew out of that either, never. Then one winter, I think it was around 2009 or 2010, she got sick. We don't know what happened. We went to multiple doctors and they put her on multiple pills. They told us to do multiple things and no one could find anything. Blood work, all this stuff, nothing. So we moved her inside the house because we kind of thought, this is it, you know, we gotta change things, we gotta be with her, we gotta help her because she had trouble, you know, getting up, laying down, going up and down the stairs. She couldn't even sit. She could not sit. We really didn't know. So we kept her inside, took care of her, babied her to death, And actually, I think it was about a year or half a year later, she got better. She got miraculously better. She didn't get better per se. I mean, she still had her issues, like she was always vomiting and stuff like that. But she could get up. She was happy again. She was a puppy again, even though she wasn't a puppy. She just never grew out of being a puppy, which is so adorable, and I miss that. She was good again. She was happy. So we just kept her in the house. We kept her pretty much confined in the kitchen, dining room area where there was hardwood floors. We never let her go on the carpet, but when people were away and I was like in my room or something, she would sneak herself back there. And she was trained really well to not step on the carpet, and she knew, which was awesome. She was an extremely smart dog. And I think it was a couple years later, we ended up moving. We lived in flood zone before, and it was a nightmare. And we moved to this glorious house, which I'm still not used to. It's been like 4 years, 3 years, something like that. We moved. She ran away a couple times, as usual, as expected. And then I worked at a pet store, and I started looking more into the invisible fences. And I was like, you know what? We gotta get one. We gotta try this, because if this works, this would be amazing. We had tons more property for her to run on, so it would just be fantastic. So we bought one, we installed it, and it worked like a charm. You guys, it was the best purchase ever. If you guys need to confine your animal in your yard, I recommend an invisible fence. I really do. I love them. I don't know if they work. I didn't get one because I thought our dog was stubborn and she would just run right through it. No, she stayed in there. I don't know if it'll work for your dog, no guarantees, but invisible fence, amen. I love those things. So now I just felt so much better about her. Before I was stressing, you know, is she getting enough outside time? Is she playing enough? Is she having fun? So now, you know, she looks at the door, she looks out the window, we let her outside, she runs around, has a good old time, lays in the sun, does whatever she wants, and it is great, 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 great. And the only issue with it was that when we would get packages delivered, she did not like those people at all. So she would be up by their truck trying to get them, bark at them, and scaring the crap out of them. And I'd have to I'd have to realize that they were out there and run out there and save them, or I wouldn't get my package that day. Living here with her in the invisible fence, she had this room to run. She had all this fun. We did get chickens as soon as we moved here, and she ended up killing one of them, which I got so angry at her for. I wanted to even get rid of her for a time, but then, you know, I got over it. But we always had to watch her around them because she'd look at them and she'd be like, damn, I want a chicken dinner. You could just see it in her eyes, and it was just so funny, but I was always so worried, so worried. But we didn't have too many incidents after that. She attacked one of my roosters twice. She had a thing. She did not like this rooster. This rooster is the sweetest thing though. He's honestly the sweetest rooster I've ever owned. And she hated his guts. Hated him. She would attack him, she'd corner him, and then she'd chase him into the woods. I don't know what she had against him, but he managed to live through everything. And she worried me around the chickens, but it gave her a thrill, and she is just still a puppy, you know. 11 years later, she's a puppy. Then around the end of July of this year, she started this coughing thing. Don't really know how to explain it. I mean, she literally was just coughing. My dad and I decided to take her to the vet. My sister and my mother went on vacation around the second week of August, and that's when we got her vet appointment. And we took her, and they also didn't know what was wrong with her. I mean, obviously we didn't want to do more blood work and stuff like that. That's just paying an arm and a leg for something we already know the results to. So the guy listened to her chest, looked at her, and was like, she looks like crap. We're gonna try a few things, but he wanted us to do this blood work, and we did not want to do the blood work. I mean, years and years of blood work to find nothing. We had it on paper, and So he just sent us home with, I think it was steroids, antibiotics, and some kind of like nutrition stuff. Because I have to add, all her life, well, not all her life, probably the second half of her life, she just was skinny. She looked like we starved her, which we didn't. She'd eat and eat and eat, and she just never gained weight ever. And I was just like, I made a joke, my cat is so fat. I'm just like, I wish when Sahara ate, which is my cat, that Crystal would gain weight. Or even my rabbit is fatter than my dog. So they gave us this supplement for their food just to sprinkle on, and it would help absorb the nutrients or something, and she was supposed to gain weight. So we tried this stuff and she seemed to improve a little bit. It was kind of cool. Like you could see she gained a little bit of weight on her back. So we were like, yes, this is working, this is great. And then towards the end of August, she stopped eating. She did not want the food that we gave her. She didn't want dry dog food, she didn't want wet dog food. We tried switching brands, we tried everything. And so we made another vet appointment. Her coughing got worse, more hardcore, more often. She would wake up in the middle of the night and have a half-hour coughing attack. September 8th, we made a vet appointment. And before we left, I was like, I gotta get her to eat something. I went in the fridge, I had an old hot dog in there and I chopped it up and she ate it, which was amazing. We took her to the vet appointment. She was practically just looked like she was half dead. Broke my heart. Her eyes were oozing this green stuff, and the doctor said it was from dehydration. He said she's basically a very, very sick dog. He wanted to do blood work. We didn't want to do blood work. So then he suggested a x-ray. So we did an x-ray and they found a tumor, a huge, like a giant thing. Like I didn't even know how she was still surviving in her lung. And he basically told us that she didn't have very long to live, especially since she wasn't eating. And I told him, I was like, we're giving her hot dogs and stuff, but I knew that wasn't enough. You know, she's not getting nutrients from hot dogs. She's not gonna get, you know, there's stuff in dog food that people food can't give to dogs. And I was afraid if I added any vitamins or anything that she wouldn't eat it altogether. The vet said that we needed to go to a specialist because he couldn't take care of that. And he said if we did go to a specialist that it probably couldn't do anything for her. That it was just because she was just too far and the thing was too much, and they only took a chest x-ray, so he said it could have been everywhere else too that we just don't even know. With the state that she was in, we could have taken her and spent thousands and thousands of dollars, but the vet said that she's pretty much at the end of her lifespan, that it would be better for her to not go through all that, you know, and I didn't want her to. I didn't want her to suffer and be prodded with all this vetness and like, I didn't want her to go through all the doctors and everything when she could have just been home with me, with my dad, my mom, my sister, who she loved, who she wanted to protect her entire life, because that was her mission. She wanted to stay for so long. She wanted to stay forever. And that's what broke my heart, because I'd look at her and I'd see the pain that she was going through. Like she was extremely dehydrated. She was not eating. Her eyes were basically glued shut because of the stuff coming out of them. And then the UPS guy would come down the road and she would put everything into barking at him and just trying to protect us. And that was her life goal. And the vet told us to take her home to discuss options with her family. And I already knew what was happening. I already knew what was gonna go down because she was my dog and I was the prime decision maker. There is nothing worse than making the decision to put down your animal. It's hard. I did it with my cat 3 years ago. And now I had to do it for my dog. I put it off. When we got home, I ignored it. I went in my room. I didn't even spend any time with her. I kind of ignored her. I didn't want her to go because she was still walking and she was still moving around, but when I saw that she had her toys laying on the ground and she was just looking at them, wagging her tail, and she tried to play with them and she couldn't. She would grab it in her mouth and just start coughing. Before I would say, "Hey Crystal, let's play toys, sweetie." And she would go over to her toy box and she would pick one out and then we'd play. But I'd say, "You want to play toys?" And she couldn't. She'd just look at them. And I knew. She didn't bark anymore. She had shallow breathing. We kept her on hot dogs for about a couple days, and then she stopped with that. The vet said to give her Pedialyte to drink to help hydrate her, which we did, and she loved that stuff. So we thought, heck, we're doing an awesome job. And so then my neighbor came over and was like, "Hey, have you tried chicken?" So we tried chicken. She loved the chicken. And then they're like, "Well, add nutrients and stuff. Mix in some baby food." So we did. She wasn't a huge fan of the baby food, but she ate it. So we'd feed her baby food, gravy, chicken, that kind of stuff. Then, I think it was about September 17th that my dad came into my room at night and he said, "I think that we should do it on Friday after work," because he had to work until 4 and my dog loved him to death. She loved him probably more than she loved me, but whatever. I agreed. I said, "Yeah, we can't let her do this anymore because she is suffering. She's trying so hard, but she just can't anymore." And she would have kept going, but I couldn't let her do that. I couldn't let her just suffer all the time for us. Because if it was up to her, she would have stayed there until her last breath, but that could have been months. That could have been a year. It could have been a couple days. We don't know. But regardless, she would have been suffering. She wouldn't have been the dog that we knew. She would have been just a zombie walking around. Heck, she didn't even sweep our floor anymore. And for those of you who have dogs, you know what I'm talking about, when they just eat everything off your floor so you don't have to sweep your floors. She didn't do that anymore. So we noticed because, there was food dropped on the floor that we were stepping on 2 days later because we didn't have someone cleaning it up. On September 19th, 2014, we lost our pup. I didn't go. I was sick that day, but I don't think I would have went anyway. I didn't have the strength to do it. And for that, I feel horrible. I feel terrible that I wasn't there for her. But I don't think I could have done it. If I could go back and change it, I really don't think I would have. I was there for my cat when we put her down, and every time I think about her, that just plays in my head. It's as clear as when it happened, and I don't want that picture in my mind. I want to remember the good times. So my dad and my mother took her. She passed away at 4:30 p.m. And that last day was probably the best day because we had been having really crappy weather. And that day, it was really nice out. It was probably in the 70s. It was clear sky, absolutely clear, beautiful blue. We had the chickens out running around. We had just taken our pool down, so there was this big sand mound that she loves to lay in that we never let her lay in because the cat shits in there. But we let her do it because it was her last day. And we went on a walk. and I hugged her and I kissed her and I let her lick my pants all she wanted. Let her eat chicken. I wish I wouldn't have been sick that day because I feel like I didn't put a lot of effort forth, but I gave her a really, really tight hug goodbye. And I told her what a good girl she was. She brought me what I thought I would never have. And for that, I am forever grateful. Now that she's not here with me anymore, I feel alone all the time. I mean, I'm home alone most of the day, every day, by myself, and I get scared easily, you know? I'm spooked, and I hear all these noises and stuff, and usually I'm like, hey Crystal, come help me, or like, Crystal, come here. But I can't anymore, you know, I'm solo. It's scary sometimes. And I think about her all the time. I'll never get to pet her little ears anymore, or her cute little face. And those eyes won't ever bore into my soul anymore. My first dog gave me so much, and she taught me so much. I love her to death, and I will never, ever, 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 ever forget her. Crystal, you are a good girl.